Why do awakened people feel a restlessness that no one understands? You know that feeling, right? Like you're awake in a sleeping world. There's this weight in your chest that won't go away. It's not anxiety. It's not stress. It's something way deeper. A frequency you're vibrating at that nobody else seems to hear. If you've been carrying this and thinking something's wrong with you, stay with me. Because what you're feeling isn't broken. It's a signal. And once you get why this restlessness picked you and not them, everything shifts. You know that exhaustion that isn't physical, the kind that comes from the inside, the exhaustion of being surrounded by people, but feeling completely alone. Not lonely, just disconnected. Like everyone around you is speaking a language you used to understand. But now it just sounds like noise. There's this weight that's there when you wake up. It's there in the middle of conversations that used to feel normal, but now feel draining. It's there when you're scrolling through your phone, watching everyone perform their perfect lives. And you can see right through it, because you've done it too. Pensa Kamago. You try to explain this feeling to someone and they say, everyone gets stressed sometimes, or you just need to relax more. Or have you tried yoga? As if what you're experiencing is a personal problem that needs fixing. But you know it's not that, because this isn't nervousness about the future. This is exhaustion with the present. This is your soul screaming that something fundamental has changed in you, and now nothing fits the way it used to. And I know how exhausting that is. I know what it's like to walk through your day, feeling like you're the only one awake in a room full of people still dreaming. And the worst part? You start wondering if maybe you're the problem. Maybe you're too sensitive, too serious, too much. Maybe everyone else has it figured out and you're just broken somehow. But here's the secret no one tells you. The problem isn't that you're broken. The problem is that you're awake. And being awake in a sleeping world feels exactly like this restlessness. You're not malfunctioning. You're operating at a different frequency now. Think about it. Before this started, you could participate in the game. You could get excited about things that don't matter. You could fake interest in shallow conversations. You could perform the role everyone expected you to play. But now you can't. Not without feeling this friction, this inner resistance, this weight. And the reason this feels so uncomfortable is because you're stuck between two worlds. You can see the one most people are living in, the routines, the performances, the agreed upon illusions. But you can also sense something else, something more real, something that doesn't have a name yet. And the gap between those two realities, that's where the restlessness lives. In that space between what is and what could be, between who you're pretending to be and who you actually are. And here's what makes it even more confusing. This restlessness actually gets worse after you start waking up, not before. You probably noticed this. Before, you might have felt vaguely dissatisfied, but you could still numb it. You could still distract yourself. You could still buy into the promises that the next promotion, the next relationship, the next achievement would finally make you feel complete. But now you can't. The restlessness is constant. It's louder. It's more persistent. And you're wondering why awakening made everything harder instead of easier. Why seeing the truth feels more painful than living in the illusion. And that's the part nobody warns you about. Waking up doesn't feel peaceful at first. It feels like being torn between two different ways of being. And that tearing? That's the restlessness you're feeling. Alan Watts had this perfect way of explaining it. Imagine you're a wave in the ocean. Most people are waves that don't know they're the ocean. They're so focused on being a wave, on being bigger, better, more impressive than the other waves. But they've forgotten they're already the whole ocean. They wake up every morning thinking, I need to be a better wave today, a more successful wave, a more accomplished wave. And they spend their entire lives competing with other waves, comparing themselves, trying to prove their wave is worth something. They never stop to realize the whole thing is an illusion, because they're not separate from the ocean. They are the ocean. But you started to remember. You caught a glimpse that you're not separate from the ocean, that all the waves are just temporary expressions of the same water. And that changes everything. Because now you can't go back to just being a wave. You can't pretend you don't know. You can't participate in the wave competition with the same innocence you had before. But you're also not fully living as the ocean yet. You're caught in between. The wave part of you is still trying to compete and perform and measure up. But the ocean part of you knows that's exhausting and pointless. That's the restlessness. That's the friction. You're remembering who you really are, but you're still trying to live as who you thought you were supposed to be. And here's what makes it so isolating. People who are still fully identified as waves don't feel this. They can't. They're too busy comparing their wave to other waves, too invested in the competition, too focused on making their wave bigger or more impressive or more successful. So when you try to tell them about the ocean, when you try to explain that maybe we're all connected, that maybe this whole competition thing is an illusion, they look at you like you're crazy. They don't get it. They can't get it because they haven't remembered yet. And they make it about you, your sensitivity, your overthinking, your inability to just be normal like everyone else. Why can't you just enjoy life, they say. Why do you have to make everything so deep? But you're not trying to make things deep. You're just seeing what's actually there. You're just noticing what they're still successfully ignoring. You've probably noticed this feeling gets worse in certain situations, right? When you're at a party and everyone's having the same surface-level conversations. When someone's telling the same story for the 100th time and everyone's pretending it's interesting. When you're in a meeting listening to people take trivial things way too seriously. When you scroll social media and see everyone performing happiness while you can see the emptiness behind it. The restlessness spikes in these moments. And it's not because you're judging them. It's not because you think you're better. It's because you're being forced to participate in the wave game when you've already glimpsed the ocean. It's like being an adult crammed into children's clothes. Technically, you can still wear them, but everything feels tight and wrong and suffocating. Not A? And then there's the loneliness of it. That specific kind of loneliness that comes from being surrounded by people and still feeling completely alone. Because you're not lonely in the traditional sense. You're not lacking company. You're lacking recognition. You're lacking someone who sees what you see, who feels what you feel, who gets why you can't just go back to caring about things that don't matter. And that isolation, that feeling of being the only one who sees it, that's part of the restlessness too. It compounds it. It makes you wonder if maybe you are crazy, if maybe you should just force yourself back to sleep. Because at least when you were asleep, you had company. But here's what nobody tells you about that restlessness. It's not punishment. It's not a sign that something went wrong. It's actually proof that something went right. Because that restlessness is your soul refusing to settle. It's a part of you that wouldn't go back to sleep even when staying asleep would be easier. It's a part that kept asking questions when everyone else accepted easy answers. It's the part that felt the wrongness of living against your nature and wouldn't let you ignore it. That restlessness is the most alive part of you. And instead of trying to kill it, you need to start listening to it. So what do you do with this? How do you live with a restlessness that no one else seems to understand? Here's what changes everything. You stop trying to fix it. You stop treating it like a disease that needs to be cured. And you start treating it like a compass. Because that restlessness, it's not random. It's not meaningless. It's pointing you toward something. It's showing you what no longer fits, what you've outgrown, what needs to change. The restlessness isn't the enemy. It's the guide. It's the part of you that knows where you need to go even when your mind is still scared to follow. Start by changing the questions you're asking. This is simple, but it changes everything. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Ask, what is my restlessness trying to show me? Shift from why can't I just be normal to what part of normal am I being called to leave behind? Instead of how do I make this feeling go away? Try where is this feeling trying to lead me? You see the difference? The restlessness stops being a burden and starts being information. It's not pushing you away from something broken. It's pulling you towards something more real. It's not punishing you for waking up. It's guiding you deeper into the awakening. And here's a practice. Just for one day where you stop fighting the restlessness. Stop trying to meditate it away, or think it away, or distract yourself from it. Just let it be there. Don't judge it. Don't try to fix it. Just observe it. And when it spikes, when you're in that conversation that feels empty, when you're doing that thing that used to matter but doesn't anymore, when you're around people who drain you instead of fill you, instead of forcing yourself to participate, just notice. Notice what makes the restlessness worse. Notice what makes it ease. Your body is giving you data. The restlessness gets heavier around certain people, certain activities, certain environments, and it gets lighter in others. Pay attention to that. That's not random. That's your compass showing you what drains you and what fills you. That's your soul telling you which direction to walk. Maybe it's telling you to spend less time with people who only know the old version of you. Maybe it's pointing you toward more solitude, more silence, more space to just be without performing. Maybe it's showing you that the job that pays well is killing something essential inside you. Maybe it's revealing that the relationship you've been trying to save is actually the thing you need to leave. The restlessness knows. Your body knows. That tightness in your chest when certain people call. That exhale of relief when you finally close the door and you're alone. That lightness you feel when you're in nature or creating something real. Your restlessness is constantly showing you the way. You just have to be willing to listen. And more importantly, you have to be willing to act on what it's telling you. Because here's the truth about this restlessness. It's not going to go away by going back to sleep. You can't unknow what you've seen. You can't unremember that you're the ocean. The wave knows about the ocean now, and there's no going back from that. But here's what does happen. When you stop fighting the restlessness and start following it, it transforms. It evolves. It stops being this constant ache and becomes a steady guide. It stops feeling like suffering and starts feeling like clarity. You're not losing your mind. You're finding your way. And the restlessness is the path. You start to see that the people who called you too sensitive weren't wrong. You are sensitive. But that's not a flaw. That's your gift. You can feel things others can't. You can see through illusions others still believe. You can sense when something's off even when everyone else says it's fine. That sensitivity is what woke you up in the first place. And the restlessness is that sensitivity refusing to let you go back to sleep. It's uncomfortable, but it's also the thing that's going to save you from wasting your life on things that don't matter. And here's something else that starts to happen. You find your people, not a lot of them, but a few. People who get it, who feel it too, who don't need you to explain because they're living it. And when you find those people, the restlessness eases a little, not because they fix it, but because you realize you're not alone in it. There are others who are awake too, others who can't go back to the game, others who are learning to live as the ocean while everyone else is still competing as waves. And that recognition, that seeing and being seen, that's worth all the loneliness that came before it. In the end, the biggest irony is this. The thing you thought was wrong with you is actually the only thing that's right. That restlessness, that's your soul refusing to settle for anything less than truth. That's the part of you that wouldn't accept the comfortable lies everyone else still believes. That's the part that kept asking questions when it would have been easier to just stop asking. You're not the wave trying to become the ocean. You're the ocean remembering you were never just a wave. And once that stops being a concept in your head and becomes a feeling in your body, the restlessness doesn't disappear, but it stops being a problem. It becomes a companion, a reminder, a gentle pull toward what's real. So if you've been carrying this restlessness and wondering what's wrong with you, here's your answer. Nothing. Nothing is wrong with you. You're just awake, and being awake is uncomfortable. But it's also the only way to really live. The world will keep trying to put you back to sleep. It'll offer you distractions and numbing and easy answers. But that restlessness won't let you take them. And that's not a curse. That's grace. That's your soul loving you enough to not let you settle for less than what's real. If this landed for you, if you felt seen in this, tell me in the comments. Sometimes the biggest relief is realizing you're not the only one carrying this weight. And if you know someone else who feels this same restlessness, someone who's trying to figure out what it means to be awake in a sleeping world, share this with them. It might be the thing they needed to hear today.